This is a guy I would consider a good friend. We've met a few times, chatted over the phone a ton, and I'm so glad he's part of the morning show this morning. Welcoming to the Woodward Sports Network, everybody, Jay from Let's Talk Lions. Jay, how you doing, buddy?
Adam, what's happening, man? Dude, things are good. I mean, minus Sunday, but things are good.
Yeah, you know what? Let's just get right into it. I'll let Jeff ask the first question, but yeah, Sunday was brutal, man.
So thanks, Jay, for joining us, number one. And number two is I want to get right into it because me and Adam, we bicker all the time. Number one about Dan Campbell and the antics, but I want to ask you personally, as someone who makes Detroit Lions content, we know Dan Campbell faces criticism from the media for being sometimes a little too animated for a team that's struggling. And we all know how the most important thing to do when evaluating a coach is to get a good roster around him. But thus far, 3 games in, what's your take on the job that Dan Campbell's done thus far, regardless of starting 0-3, like the positives and some of the negatives?
Sure. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be honest, and I know there's a lot of Detroit fans that may disagree, but I love him. I love him. I love the fact that we are aggressive, the amount of 4th and 1s that we're going for. I love Dan Campbell's approach, the way that the guys in the locker room are buying in for the first time in years. Because of his style, because of the way the guy... Honestly, I love Dan Campbell. I do.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
All right, Jay, I got to say, I'm not the biggest fan of Dan Campbell, although I'm not going to judge him yet. And hear me out for a little bit, because I will agree with a lot of what you're saying, especially the parts where the players are actually buying in, they're playing for this guy. And let's all be honest, the roster isn't all that great, so how fair is it to judge a first-time official head coach in his first year with a defense that's pretty bad? But here are my thoughts on Dan Campbell, and I've been very vocal on them. And he really disappointed me this Sunday, Jay. And I'll tell you why. He's been preaching, a new attitude, a new culture, aggressiveness, biting kneecaps, like things that you could actually buy in as not only a fan, but really the football team. And he had an opportunity. They hit the 2-minute warning. It was 1st and 10. They were coming off a 22-yard Khalif Raymond catch from Jared Goff. Jared Goff was 3 for 3, 65 yards on that drive. Detroit was getting anything they wanted, any and everything they wanted, and they elected to run 3 straight simple run plays that resulted in no yards gain, 1 yard gain, and a 4-yard loss. And again, I understand playing the odds, burning the timeouts. I totally get it. But I said earlier in the year, especially against San Francisco and then Green Bay, he was going for it so much, Jay, on 4th down. And everyone was like, wow, this is really great. He's being aggressive. I said, well, it's easy to do that when you're not expected to win football games. What happens when you're in a situation where you can actually seal the deal and win a football game? Are you going to be aggressive? Are you going to right the wrongs of Jim Caldwell? And his first try, he didn't. And that really frustrated me. And I want your take on that, really.
No, I mean, you know what? That's fair, and that's a fair assessment. I look at it, and like you said, playing the odds. It didn't bother me. The outcome bothered me. I felt like, let's try to get that clock. Let's run it down as much as we can. Give Lamar as little time as possible if they are to get the ball back. So, personal take, looking at it, I didn't mind the call. The one call that I really didn't like was the timeout that was called right at the end. That was the one that I was definitely scratching my head saying, okay, that feels like a first-time head coach type of move.
Yeah, Jay, I do agree on the timeout, but I do want to circle back on, I actually think the opposite. I'm not too mad about the outcome of the result, because I would have really bought in more had he actually been aggressive in that moment. We saw John Harbaugh, Monday Night Football. They have never beaten the Chiefs in their lifetime against Patrick Mahomes, and they go ahead and do it. They go for it on 4th and 1. They take the bold, aggressive route, and it paid off. And again, it's easy to sit here after the game and say, well, you should have been more aggressive, but I'm only holding Dan Campbell to his words and what he failed to do. And, maybe it's not totally fair. Yes, they played the odds. It was super unfortunate that they lost. I mean, the odds of them actually losing that game were so minuscule, but they somehow found a way to lose it. But I'm not too mad about the result. I'm more upset today and even yesterday with how are you not aggressive in your first opportunity to really, show change, show, this attitude shift that he's actually brought. I got to give him credit. He has brought a shift and change to the dynamic and the entire really the organization, really, it's really a new energy, a new vibe, and that's really great. But again, I was left disappointed. Again, they could have gone for it, left Lamar with a few timeouts, gotten a field goal, and then Baltimore went down and scored and won the game. I would have been more happy that he was aggressive, trying to seal the deal for good and take a knee and kick a field goal than, well, we're going to have to give the ball back either way if we don't convert a first down with these 3 runs. But to move on to the timeout, Jay, your thoughts on not only the 4th and 19 conversion, but really the 3 plays leading up to it. Jay, they had Lamar Jackson running for his life. Why call the timeout?
I don't know. And even listening to Dan Campbell afterwards discuss it, I think that was what was probably most hard, was just listening to his reasoning in the press conference, in the post game, just being like, well, it felt like the right move. It felt like we do that. So like sitting there as a fan, I was confused, and everybody around me is looking at me and they're like, why are we calling timeout? What's the deal? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. Like, to me, terrible call. That's why I said earlier, it felt like a first-time head coach type of move. That entire drive, like you said, Lamar is scrambling for his life. We had him, the defense showing up, that D-line showing up. I was confused. I was just confused.
Jay, I think we all were confused. And really, again, you're more upset with the decision than the outcome. Had they not called the timeout, let's say, and they still converted, I mean, I don't really care about the outcome of it. It's why, when a team is reeling and you have them on the ropes, do you make that decision? And for me, that's what I took away. Again, the outcome is the outcome. You can't change it. Things happen in the NFL. They could have called the timeout, and it could have worked. But regardless, it didn't. And, I'm not too hung up. Go ahead.
No, and that's what I'm like. That's what I'm trying to get across to people is like, and even listening to Dan Campbell after, dude, like, football is made up of an accumulation of plays, and every single one of them adds up to the W or the L at the very end. And so that's where, when you look at this and you start breaking it down, it's easy to be like, well, if we just didn't do that, or if we just didn't call the timeout. And really, in the end, we had our opportunities. We blew them. The first half was offensively no rhythm. It was as if, Jared Goff is out there like the orchestra conductor with the magic wand, and he just couldn't get it going, and everybody was off beat. And so, like, I look, and I'm like, the whole game was made up of a lot of misplays, miscues, and it came back to bite us at the end, and that's where it felt like it hurt the most.
Jay, you point a lot to, Dan Campbell obviously being a first-time head coach. He's going to make these mistakes. Again, it's year one. You're not really going to hold him too accountable for it. Make the mistake, sure, just don't make it again. Or if you do, at least, do it in a different way. Not the exact same mistake, but still, the offense, their first 7 possessions resulted in 6 punts, 0 scores, nothing. And then they come out in the second half, 3 straight scores, 2 touchdowns, and then, of course, the field goal. We've seen this with the Lions all season. Are you concerned with the offense being so streaky? They've now put up multiple donuts in the first or second half.
Yes, no, definitely. That was a great word, streaky, because that's what it feels like. It feels like we just can't find a way to be consistent offensively. And then all of a sudden, as the momentum, we shift, everything works. Look at Green Bay. I mean, the first half, we look great. We look great in a lot of capacities. Don't get me wrong. We had our mistakes. But, like, I was at that game. I'm at Lambeau. I'm watching it. And I'm sitting there around all these Green Bay fans. I'm like, oh, man, we might be walking out with a W. Second half rolls around, and where did the streak go? It just went the opposite direction. So, yes, I'm very concerned with it. Very concerned. I like Goff. I know that's not kind of what we're talking about, but I do like Goff. I think there is the great chance, the possibility that he steps into his own here in Detroit.
Yeah, we're talking to Jay from Let's Talk Lions. You can check him up on YouTube. Jay, I want to ask you, we're going to stay on the offense. For Jared Goff, this offense, obviously, Adam just mentioned, it's streaky. And with Jared Goff not having a really true number one wide receiver, what is your take on Jared Goff? Do you see him as a bridge quarterback or someone that if you put talent around him, you can make some noise in the NFL?
Well, I think, quite frankly, in a year or two, somebody will come back to this video, clip it, and make fun of me. But I do think that Jared Goff has a future in Detroit, and he's not just a bridge QB. You look at what he's able to do with Hawkinson, Swift, and Williams in the air attack. If you gave him a wide receiver that could actually be a huge deep threat. You can see it in Quintus Cephas, but he's only in his sophomore year. Khalif Raymond, I love him. Speedster, the way the guy moves, love him. But again, no real true wide receiver one. You put a wide receiver one on this team with the I don't know, the skills of Stephon Diggs or somebody like that. Shoot, I think Jared Goff has a real shot at bringing us NFC North title.
Jay, so I'm on the side of the Jared Goff camp where I believe it's really a 2-year commitment. Only not so much because Goff hasn't proven he can win in the NFL. It's really not so much that it's his cost, right? So you're in a rebuild. You have 2 first-round picks over the next 2 seasons. There's a lot of good things happening behind the scenes in Detroit. But to commit another $35 million annual contract to Jared Goff, who, let's all be honest, isn't a Patrick Mahomes, isn't a Josh Allen, a Kyler Murray to an extent. You know, guys that when the game plan doesn't go all that great, you still have a chance. And again, you know, is that a fair comparison for Goff? You know, I guess you can make the argument no, but you do want a quarterback win. And again, this is why I think Sean McVay was so frustrated with Jared Goff. It's like, hey, man, I have to coach a perfect game just for us to win. Why can't you like bail me out sometimes? And I feel like that's where they really broke up, and that's why he's so in love with Matthew Stafford, because let's all be honest here, Matthew Stafford, he is the king of fourth quarter comebacks during his time in Detroit. He's proven it on multiple levels. So yeah, I believe he's a bridge quarterback more so because of his contract, not just because of his ability. Your thoughts? Do you think there's actually a possibility where in 2 seasons' time they either franchise him or re-sign him to a team-friendly deal? Do you really think that's a possibility?
I do strictly because, like you said, you bring up the contract, right? We know we have him through 2022 based on the money. It's like we have him this year, we got him next year. What can he do with the pieces around him in those 2 years? If he can actually, because even watching these games, he is streaky. He is. But you watch the way that he works, the way he's playing with the guys around him, the pieces around him. I really think that if he performs well enough where we're in every one of these games, and then next year, maybe we're bringing in, we have more pieces, we get a wide receiver in the draft, or somebody, Amon-Ra St. Brown starts stepping up, Quintus Cephas. You look at 2022, I think he could really push forward and Jared Goff be a long-term solution.
Jay, again, it's only 3 games into the season, so I don't want to judge the team or even Jared too hard. But I gotta say, what message does it send when your quarterback again is 3 for 3 on this drive? He's led you down the field, 65 yards, 2-minute warning, 1st and 10. Baltimore's reeling. You're getting everything you want. Is it a trust issue? Did they not trust Goff in that situation? Or, like we kind of already said, they played the odds, it bit them in the butt. But if you have that guy, Jay, don't you think you kind of take the chance to end the game?
You're right, because if you're looking at Buffalo, Josh Allen's going for it. You know, you see the way that Josh Allen, you trust him, he's going to go for it, he's going to make that play. And maybe it is a lack of trust. However, I think looking at it, it felt more like let's play the odds, let's take the time off the clock. Just my personal take watching it. I don't think it was a trust issue, but maybe it is.
All right, awesome. Well, Jay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I can't thank you enough. I've been wanting to have you on for the longest time. I know you've been busy and we've been busy as well, but hopefully we can bring you on more. I love your YouTube page. It's a great listen. Guys, if you haven't listened or watched before, it's Let's Talk Lions, and he has honestly probably one of the smoothest and I dare say sexiest voices when he does say the title of the show. You can call me what you want.
I can concur. I'll concur.
Whenever he says, Let's Talk Lions, I swear to God, I get goosebumps. It's the weirdest thing ever.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it, guys. Very
I love the content, man.
All right, Jay, you take care, bud. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks, man. All right, catch you later.